Hi guys, so I'm Shrai, I'm your host today. I go by SMF, and welcome to the first episode of Creative Cribz. Today we're going to be interviewing Chidi3s, a dope creative artist, designer, and he's going to be telling us a bit about his career and life in quarantine. So we're going to go and get started. Tell us, I'm going to jump straight in right here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So where are you from? First of all,
yeah.
Even.
Okay. So my name is Joel Chidi3s, hence the Chidi3s art. And I'm originally from Nigeria. Well, that's where I was born. My dad is British. His mom is Uruguayan, but he's raised British. And my mom is Nigerian. And I spent half my life living in Nigeria as well. So it's a very big influence on who I am and my art is, yeah.
Okay, and we're going to get to see that as well in some of your pieces, and as we get to talk to you more, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about the art scene where you are. So you spent half of your life in Nigeria and the other half here. So tell us a little bit like the art scene, maybe if you can, in Nigeria and here, if there's any comparisons you can make.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, I feel from my experience, like I left Nigeria, I was still quite young and I didn't know too much, but it's not something that, it's more, I guess, it's more encouraged here. If you are trying to do something creative, there's more avenues, I guess, from my direct experience, there's more avenues for you to like do that in, whereas in Nigeria, it was kind of seen as giving up or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you, do you know what I mean? If you decide you become an artist because, oh, maybe you can't do anything better. Do you know what I mean? Whereas here, I feel like it's the industry is a little bit more respected here for sure. But yeah, I mean, there are bubbles in Nigeria that I didn't get to interact with, but I'm from a very small town as well. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, going back to like your childhood and growing up, it's quite interesting because you say like art in Nigeria and where you're from as well is kind of not looked at as the way it's looked at here. When did you realize that, you know, you are a creative, like that is something that is in you?
Okay. The thing is, I have more than one outlet. So I also write poetry, and I think I've been writing poems since I was like 7 years old. Just kind of putting my thoughts down into words in some kind of playful way. They've gotten more serious over time, but I think at age 7 I was writing down silly little rhymes, that type of thing. But I always liked drawing. I think maybe I was like 12 or 11 when I started redrawing as an escape. And then like you start to realize like you know, maybe, I was like, okay, maybe I am good at this. So I was getting a bit of recognition in like art class and stuff like that. Is when I think when I was 15 was the age I first considered doing it as a career. But even me and myself, I didn't really believe it was something that was like you know, like sustainable for me. But then the older I got, the more I started to understand the industry and the actual like massive opportunities that are out there for creatives. And so I think it was in my early 20s when I was like really serious about like, yo, this is what I want to do for real. Yeah.
That's quite interesting. So what kind of artist would you say that you are? Are you like visual, conceptual? Are you photographer? Like, what is your avenue, would you say?
I'm definitely a visual artist for sure, but I also think of myself as a literal one. And even in my visual art, I do write little pieces, and I write poems about my paintings, and I make paintings about my poems. And yeah, I don't know if did I say that the same way twice?
No. Yeah.
But yeah, if you get where I'm coming from. So I definitely think of myself as someone who, and I've always seen talking as an art form for myself as well. Like just being able like to communicate things, like the art of conversation, you know, is something that's one of the early things why I saw like, you know, I'm the type of person where if like I have an answer for everything, do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So I'm like, wittiness is definitely one of the avenues where like I channel my creativity, if that makes sense. But yeah. Okay. I don't know if I've answered your question.
No, you have. You've answered the question. You've answered the question well as well. So I'm gonna ask you to show us a little bit around your like art space so we can see some of your inspo. daily life as an artist.
No problem. I'm going to turn the camera around and do that. Okay. So this is a commission I'm working on. It's not done yet, but like maybe you can see where it's going to. But it gives you some insight into my process, right?
Yeah.
This is another piece still under construction. So it's a huge canvas. I'm trying to get it all in the screen.
How big is it? Do you know the measurements?
It's about 1.5 meters tall. So it's if I was standing up next to it, I would be a bit shorter than it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's quite a big one. It still has a bit of work to go on it, but yeah. So in here, this is essentially like my works. This is where I kind of get the stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to show you, essentially, this is the commission that is, I'm going to make a few changes. This was the sketch for the commission that I'm working on. So hopefully by looking at this piece and looking at that piece, you can kind of gauge the process on what's going to come next and what's going to go where, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I am making a few changes, yeah. And so yeah, this is one of my hoodies. I also make merch. So I print my art on the back of hoodies as well. It's a very big part of what I do. That's why I'm so late, because I was at Backyard Market selling some of this stuff, and it took me a while to get back.
I gotta get the plane.
Yeah, this sexy machine right here is my Epson printer. So it makes photo prints of my art. Yeah. Which I then sell online. I got a few here. If you guys are interested, DM me. Yeah.
Yes, but yourself.
So here's some pieces that I've reproduced for you. You guys can just have a look. But yeah, most of these are online. So let's take a look. This is one of my most popular pieces. It's called Your Light, and it's one of the ones with a poem that goes with it. And if you actually look at the painting, there is writing on it. So you can see action, and it's the line that leads to action is canceling out doubt. And then you see faith. The line that leads to faith is canceling out fear. And then you see patience, and the line that leads to patience is canceling out frustration. And the whole idea is it's falling in love with your own inner beauty. That's the inspiration behind this piece. But yeah, it's a really nice poem that goes with it too. It's another one, androgynous. So it's one thing to do really well, but it's about embracing both the masculine and feminine in everything, you know? I'm one of the people that believe gender is a spectrum. Yeah. So, and then some more prints here as well. So yeah, I can show you like a bit more. I have some paintings on display in the house. I'll show you a few of those pieces. It's a bit dark, but so some originals. So this is one I did almost 3 years ago now. It's called Spirit in the Wind. Yeah. Sorry, no, it's called Colors of the Wind. Spirit in the Wind is a different painting. But it's actually inspired by the song in Pocahontas, like that. Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't seen Pocahontas yet, go and see it. And then if we move on to the next room, I have a few more pieces up. So what I like to do is display them instead of just keeping them wrapped up in storage. Do you know what I mean? This is a piece I did called The Great Escape. And this is a piece based on Fela Kuti. If you're a Nigerian or you're into Afrobeat, he's the guy who invented Afrobeat. So there we go. Yeah. Then we have the signature piece, the Pegasus, and that one's hanging there as well. This one is also really popular as a print. Yeah, and it's like, I say it's like me as an animal, if that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. So I see, like, you have paintings, you have merch, you have prints. What is like your go-to staple technique? So, for example, do you like do screen print, or is it like, what is the thing that you always? Oh no. Okay, so with me, like for a long time, art was just doodling in class, right? I'm someone who, like, if you don't know, I studied chemical engineering at university, and I've always had like quite a sciencey background. My father is a PhD zoologist as well, so I've always had a very heavy scientific influence, right? But it was almost like a distraction for me, or a tick, or something to just keep me focused. But I've always doodled, so doodling is like my go-to thing, really. Like I said, when I was a bit older, I started to get into the more technical side of art. I tried to like understand it. So I got really into like realistic art, but my style now is kind of fusing that realism with the doodling. Essentially, I do something that is very representational, and then I doodle all over it just to like express myself, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And put my vibe on it.
So it's like you've created your own unique style. So now if anyone sees that, they know straight away that's Chidi3s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dope. So I'm gonna go into like the interview questions now.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Feel free to. Of course.
So going off what we just said, in 3 words, what would you describe your art style as?
Okay. Vibrant, I think, because I get that a lot. Vibrant, because even when like, or bold, you could say vibrant or bold, but even when I do some black and white pieces, but even then it's still very like, it's very strong aesthetic. Like it's very in your face. It's very look at me. Do you know what I mean? So I would say bold is the first one. Second, I would like to say fluid, because I don't know if you can see the piece behind me. Yeah. I don't really like the idea of borders, or like, I don't like to paint my paintings with an outside. So there's no inside or outside. There's no real subject. Everything is kind of like blended into one. Yeah. And like I do on some pieces, but usually the background and the foreground are kind of mixing into each other. So that's something that I really like to do as well. And what's the third one? I guess Afrocentric as well, because again, being Nigerian, living in Africa, and living shortly in the Caribbean as well, it definitely influenced my art style, and like hence the vibrancy and the boldness come directly from that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's dope. So we kind of talked about your signature style, and we talked about your signature piece as well. But do you have a piece that is like always widely recognized, whether at exhibitions or online, or is there a piece that everybody kind of knows you for, or is there a piece that you are just super connected to?
Ooh, I give you like 3 pieces, I guess. So I'll flip again. At the moment, I'm super connected to this one. I actually did it for a breastfeeding awareness campaign. So I was trying to like shed some of the negative stigma around breastfeeding, you know, because it's like, it's essential for life. So like, how are we going to look down on it? Do you know what I mean? But for me, why this is meaningful is because I have a very close relationship with my own mom, and some of the imagery and some of the symbolism in it is like directly from that relationship. So if you notice, one thing is that they're different colors. So I'm a mixed race child. I have a white dad and a black mom. That's something that's always been like a factor for me. I'm a different color from my mother. Do you know what I mean? So like I've been in like optician. There was a true story. I was in opticians once, and they refused to let my mom take me home because they just refused to believe that I was a child. This was back in Nigeria, but situations like that, or even in the airport in the UK, sometimes they make us queue in different queues because we're different colors. And for me, it just goes to like demonstrate sort of like the magnificence of maternity, in the sense that like you can give birth to something that doesn't even look like you. Do you know what I mean? That like something grew inside you can come out as a different color. I just find that so like miraculous. So I guess that's a piece I'm particularly connected to. Yeah. And then okay, I'll show you another one. It's a print as well. But
the painting as well. Sorry to change, but the fact that you painted her lips as orange as well, and it's orange, it kind of, even though it's like, you know, they're different colors, there's still that between. I just had to put that in there. I really like that.
Yeah. And exactly. And what, since we're still on this one, what it shows in the picture is an energy transfer, because that's what parents do to their children. Like when she's breastfeeding, she's literally giving him biological energy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then as he grows up, that biological energy will change to emotional energy, intellectual energy, different things. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I lost my mom when I was 17, but I like to believe that the energies that she gave me are still alive within me, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so I guess this is one of the more recognizable ones at the piece at the moment. More recognizable pieces at the moment. I've been showing it a lot in recent exhibitions and stuff. And yeah, it's about, I guess it's also symbolic of me and my beliefs. So it's called the shaman, but I have like a weird, not a weird, but like a unusual belief in like, almost like an animistic view on the world, where I kind of believe everything is alive, everything is aware of everything else.
Yeah.
To some degree. Do you know what I mean? Because yeah, and everything is connected to everything else. And I feel like a lot of indigenous spiritual practices recognize this and like held it as a priority. But a lot of the same indigenous cultures are kind of like demonized now, being voodoo or black magic or whatever. But I think shamanism, or that idea of like everything you want already exists in nature, that's something that's very meaningful and very powerful to me.
And you can see that theme in your art as well, because you have a lot of like, I can see that the leaves, the colors, everything kind of ties back in to nature, as well as, you know, your subject matter. So you can just see that connectivity in between everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the last piece, I guess, at the moment is this one. So this is directly from a personal experience as well, and it's also with everything that's been going on with Black Lives Matter, George Floyd. That's been something it's been triggering me for years. Do you know what I mean? It's been something that has bothered me since like growing up, like with two different colored parents. It's like you have to be a bit racially aware. But I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about natural hair and how in pre-colonial times, a lot of African tribes could identify each other by the way their hair was styled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the moment, it's a big stigma in offices. If you go in with an afro or with dreads or braids, you're called ghetto or unprofessional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Kim Kardashian can bang the same hairstyle and it's called revolutionary. And I mean, we all know about that. But if you look closely at the hair, you can see there's DNA strands in it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It forms the identity of the individual. There's some Native American and even some West African indigenous cultures that believe it's a connection to the spirit world. There's almost like clouds above your head that it's like, you know what I mean?
It's like your antennas.
Yeah,
like
or like an antenna.
Yeah. Have the same
Exactly. You know how insects or ants or they have those little antenna and they're senses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting. Last thing is, I read an article actually. This is based on fact about you know, the Vietnam War. How they recruited a lot of Native Americans to go there as trackers, but then they shaved them because they had to join the army. That's the uniform, shaved head. But then as soon as they cut their hair off, they couldn't track anymore. So they lost the ability to track when they lost their hair, which to me was like, wow. Do you know what I mean?
And that goes back to like the Bible as well, with like, is it Samson and Delilah? Like once his hair was gone, his powers were gone.
Yeah, his power was gone as well. Exactly, it's part of the identity, and Rastafari culture. That's the huge part of getting the lock is locking in a pact with the divine. You know what I mean?
Awesome. So, okay, we talked a little about your pieces and your techniques and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about your creative process?
Absolutely. I'm gonna go back to my face. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, the creative process for me is it's always changing. It's always evolving, and I'm always trying to learn from different artists and different influences as well. But it's very like jumpy. So I can't really work unless I'm doing more than one thing at a time. I'm just not someone who can really focus down on one thing. So what I try and do is I start 3 different projects and I bounce in between them. So they kind of also feed each other. So I might clock something when I'm doing one piece and then I'll bounce back to another one. But it's very difficult for me. I have mild ADHD, to put it that way. But it's very difficult for me to like sit and start one thing start to finish and you know, and still like it all the way through. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. So yeah, like jumping helps a lot. And I mean, another thing I do is I change up the expression style. So sometimes I write poems just when I get creative blocks. And sometimes I try to do more realistic stuff. Sometimes I try to do more abstract stuff. Just whatever it is, when my creativity is leaning towards, I try and like succumb to that. But then if I have jobs to do, I try and balance that as well. I don't know if that's a wholesome answer, but yeah.
It makes sense. So it's kind of like you're always finding new ways to push yourself, as well as like kind of meet the needs of your own creativity, what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, for example, I'll flip the camera again. I'll be working on this piece for 20 minutes, then I'll flip and I'll go and work on that for half an hour, then I'll flip back to this, then I'll flip back to that. And that's literally how I work. Otherwise I won't get very much done. Like I actually won't do anything. So even when I was studying like a science subject, I used to have like 3 or 4 different books and flipping between them. Otherwise I can't, you know what I mean?
You know, that's
I don't very long.
Because you said that your work and like what inspires you is how like connected, you know, the universe is and stuff. And your paintings are literally all connected because like your work and do that. So the whole theme of like things being connected runs through your work and life completely. It's quite
absolutely exactly. It's I think that's, well, it's definitely true for me, but I think it's true for many artists. It's a reflection of who you are. Do you know what I mean? You're literally putting yourself on a canvas or on a hoodie or on a t-shirt or on a, do you know what I mean? Or on a song. Like you're putting a little piece of yourself down every time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's really, I like that. So let's talk about quarantine. So
okay.
How has like lockdown and this whole experience affected or impacted your art and like your process, what you've been creating?
You know what? Not very negatively. So I was already on my own version of lockdown before lockdown. Like I'm someone who I don't want to say antisocial because I'm not. I love people and I love socializing with people, but I just don't go out that often. You know what I mean? So I'm home, 4 days a week, at least working on my art already. But then it quickly changed to 7. So one of the ways it definitely affected me is I teach, and it's a nice outlet for me to like still think about art, but focus on what someone else is doing rather than just myself all the time, you know? And I really missed that a lot initially. But I did a few online workshops eventually, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of got that feeling back, but I missed having the inspiration from other people, if anything. But my own internal process was pretty much the same. If anything, I had more time, you know what I mean, just to focus on work, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So in terms of like your online classes and things like that, did you feel like maybe that's something you could lean in towards more, or is it just like quarantine only?
It depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. So I'll give you a bit more background. That particular online class was it's for a commission that I'm doing with New Practice, which is an architectural company based in West Ealing. And they wanted me to create something that involved the community, that also represented the community. So I had to essentially do workshops with some young people that around West Ealing, and I trying to like get them to think about community, family, that kind of thing, caring for the environment.
Yeah.
And they all created their own individual pieces that I then combined into one large one. If that makes sense. So like I would definitely be open to doing something like that again, but teaching online, I'd rather teach face to face and actually be able to see how the person is painting the brush strokes, and do you know what I mean? For like regular normal classes, but for one-off projects, yeah, I'm definitely open to online. Like Zoom isn't as scary as I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's one thing quarantine's taught me. Zoom is not that bad.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Exactly. Zoom is not that bad.
I guess quarantine hasn't really changed much for you, but would you say there's a difference between the pieces that you created before and the pieces that you create now, or would you just say it's all been the same? Or...
I think especially after the George Floyd thing, I feel more of a responsibility, but I always have felt a responsibility to represent Africa in my work, because to me that's where I'm from, that's my home, do you know what I mean? But with the George Floyd thing, it just blew open how big the problem is and how undiscussed it actually is. So I've taken it upon myself to use my art more to start a conversation, whereas before I was just kind of like hiding things or layering things in so that it wasn't obvious. Now making it more obvious so that it's a bit more thought-provoking for the viewer. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So okay, so we can talk a little bit about your art space. So you showed us where you create your pieces. Would you say since lockdown that has changed a little bit? Did you find yourself kind of there more, or did you find yourself looking to go to anywhere else to create because we had to be confined? Does that make
Yeah, well, so I went out a lot more in nature, but that's something I've always done. Like, again, to reiterate, I grew up on a farm, so like, do you know what I mean? And that kind of thing is very much like me in my element. You know what I mean? Especially around water, because it was a fish farm. So having like a lake or a pond or something like that, that definitely connects back. And I'm gonna flip the camera again and show you this piece because although it's abstract, I wonder if you can see the influence of water, trees, and like nature, and like the different tones and the way the colors are mixing. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's something for me. But even then, like I watched a lot of like, I watched Malcolm X's biography and things like that. So even just like having more time to like study new concepts, I guess. Yeah, it's definitely fed into my work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I know you were saying that you grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And like you like nature and stuff. So do you have like anywhere outside that you go?
I do. There's a park across the road, but I don't think, because it's a little bit rainy, I don't think I should show you right now. But there's a park directly across the road, Gunnersbury Park, and it's really beautiful. And I go there a lot to like just contemplate. The thing is, I don't go and be like, oh, that's a tree, I want to paint that tree. No. No. I might see the tree, admire it, and then somehow, some way, subconsciously, it will seep back into my work. But it's not something where I directly go. So in my final year of university, I used to go around taking pictures of flowers and stuff like that. But I never actually directly used any of them. But the colors, for sure, they reappear. Do you know what I mean? The color combinations. Yeah. But like, you might catch me in a bush every now and then, just squatting, taking a picture of like a flower, just because like, the colors, they jump out at me so much. Like, I'm like, oh, that orange, I wanna, you know what I mean? I wanna see that again, you know? Yeah.
And I guess it's like, because you are so inspired by nature, it's like you have to go directly to the source to find colors like that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not so much like, again, I'm also inspired by the connectivity. So even if I meet a person, I want to know what their connection to nature is, what their connection to the environment is, what their connection to society is. And then I'm going to put all of that into a painting of them, rather than just like, oh, here's your face. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be, here's what you love, here's what you do, here's who you are, not essentially, because we're more than faces, you know? Yeah. Multidimensional being. Absolutely.
That's amazing. So I'm gonna ask the audience if they have any questions for you. Let me go through them in the meantime. So if you guys have questions, you can put them in the little question box or comment them. I'm just gonna scroll through to see if any have been asked. Someone said, loving how your art has so much meaning. Yeah, you got loads of flames.
Thanks.
More flames. Yeah. Trying to see. Okay, cool. Right, so none have popped up just yet, but that's fine. So I have one last question for you. So this is kind of like just off the top, but do you prefer being inspired by your outdoor work, or do you prefer being inspired by your indoor work? So like in your house, you have your artwork up, it's kind of like a gallery set up. Do you prefer like looking at your previous work, or do you prefer going out each time, looking into nature to get inspired?
Ooh, it's a bit of both. I look at my own work a lot, but then But then I go into nature regularly. But to be honest, the nature thing is not so much like I said, I do get like subconscious inspiration from it, but I'm not like out painting trees like I'm not a landscape artist at all.
Yeah.
But it's more just like a piece thing. When I get that piece, other ideas just flood into my head. Do you know what I mean? So nature is where I go to reset and really like London is a mad place, man. You need to sometimes just get away from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so for me, if I'm like really like hungry for inspiration, what I'll go to a gallery and I'll see what other people are doing, because that definitely feels, or I'll listen to some good ass music, because music is like it's such a fluid art form that you can translate into so many other different things. Or I'll watch a really good movie, because all that is art. Do you know what I mean? And all that is saying something, and all that is telling a story, and all that is it's preserving something, you know what I mean, and creating something. So yeah, to me art is about creating and preserving culture. So I'll go and I'll just interact with a new culture. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's like eating a new food, because that can lead to an inspiration. Do you know what I mean?
So true. Yeah. And I feel like as artists, that's kind of our job, so that, you know, when our time passes, then other people can see what our culture was about, what we had to offer, what we learned, and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And being from two, I say contrasting cultures, because I'm British Nigerian, and I really am British Nigerian. So like my dad is British, and is Nigerian. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of mixed people where they're monoculture. Do you know what I mean? Or they like the one parent is more westernized, or one parent is more Africanized. I mean, for me it's pretty much 50-50. So having that like sort of like fluidity, and having to even switch accents when depending on which parent I'm talking to. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff, it shapes your mind kind of differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a few questions. So let's see. So someone said, it seems like your mum has really inspired your art. Is she your biggest influence?
Ooh, okay. Yes, and well, she's definitely one of them for sure. My mom is definitely my biggest influence for who I am as a human being and who I want to become as a human being. Do you know what I mean? So my mom is like my direct role model. Do you know what I mean? So she's like someone who like, she just teaches herself anything. You know what I mean? That was one of the things that I found so amazing about my mom. It's like one week she literally didn't know how to do something. The next week she's teaching other people how to do it. Do you know what I mean? Growing up, especially with farming, my mom isn't really like someone who trained to be a farmer for anything. She just kind of picked it up, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after a while she was the one training other farmers. So it's like that idea of being self-taught and not really depending on anyone to kind of show you how to do something or to open the way for you, being enterprising, being proactive, that definitely comes from her. But she and also the wordplay and the poetry, that's something that she kind of had without knowing she had. She was very good at speaking, but she never really like wrote poems, but she was always put things into ways that you would remember it. Like, so I'm if you have a conversation with me, I will drop 55 quotes on you, because I'm literally a human quote cookie from listening to her. Do you know what I mean? I think artistically, my grandmother is a big influence on me. From the British Uruguayan side. So she was an artist herself. I never actually met her, but her art is displayed like all over the house I grew up in Nigeria. So it definitely, like, if you look at it, you'll see a direct resemblance in the way she uses color and the topics she goes for. Yeah. So that as well is always something that's like, I used to like stare at the wall sometimes as a punishment. Like in Nigeria, it's a punishment. Go and stare at the wall.
I heard about that.
Fun. So I was like, okay, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. And I'll go and just stare at one of my grandma's paintings for 20 minutes and like, oh, try and see what I can see, and then try and see the different shapes. Yeah. And then eventually I started with her with doing that, and eventually I started doing other things. Like I would stare at puddles and just try and find shapes and what I found beautiful about a puddle. Or I'll stare at some moldy bread. I try and find something beautiful about the moldy bread. Do you know what I mean? Or instead of like, you know, sometimes how you get like paint kind of yellows on the wall.
Yeah.
I always find that to be extremely beautiful, like weird things like that. Do you know what I mean? And
Well, that's,
Yeah,
I
so
think
like
that's like a form of mindfulness as well, like having taken the time to
absolutely
appreciate the small details of, you know, everything that
of
connects us.
life. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's what a lot of art, especially still life art, is about. Is about appreciating the beauty and the things that everyone else is taking for granted. I think that's why people paint fruit, because you always see fruit. You never actually stare at fruit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when someone puts it on the you, he's giving you that spotlight, and again, that mindfulness thing that comes from being submerged in art. So again, with my own crib, I've tried to recreate that kind of environment. So I've submerged my own up in my own art to perpetuate and see what comes out the other side.
That's really interesting. So we have another question. Does the concept of energy take time to translate into art?
Oh, yes, for sure. Especially when it's my own energy, no, because I just let it out. You know what I mean? So again, if you're doodling or you know what I mean, just abstract painting, that's just me being free and it coming out. But when I'm trying to capture someone else's energy, that can take weeks because I have to make sure I get it right. I have to make sure that even if the painting doesn't necessarily look like them, they look at it and they feel themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's something that if I don't get it right, I'll take very personally. I'll be very hard on myself for not doing so. Like I sometimes have to talk to people extensively, and I've made a lot of friends by doing commissions for people because there's no way you can paint someone's energy, someone's soul without like knowing the true beauty of who they are. So you have to either by yourself or directly with them, you have to go and sit and connect with them and contemplate who they are, why they are the way they are, you know what I mean, who they want to be, and really and really think about what makes this person beautiful to you and to them as well, because everyone is beautiful to themselves, but not everyone acknowledges that, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we had another question, which was where can we see your art?
My art, I'll type my Instagram.
Yes.
I'll type my Instagram into the comments right now, and you can also find it my website actually, but you'll see it all on there. Wow, it's difficult to type, huh?
I think I'll be able to see it as well.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. In comment. Okay, so that's pinned. So that's where you can find guys. You can find all of his art there and on his website. We have another question. How old were you when you decided to take art full time?
Full time. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I decided and when it happened was different, huh? So I'm just walking towards my charger because my charger's in the other room.
Okay.
So when I actually decided,
there's a drill going on. I don't know if you can hear it.
Yeah. So when I actually decided to make art full time is I think my last year of university, I realized that I didn't want to be a chemical engineer at all. I think I realized that in first year, to be honest, but I was just sticking out the degree because it's kind of something I promised my mom I would do. Do you know what I mean? She always was more proud of my scientific accomplishments than my creative ones. So but yeah, answering your actual question is my last year of university. So I think I was about 21 years old.
Yeah.
But only about 2 years ago did I actually start doing art as a full-time, like doing nothing else, because I've always had other things to kind of keep me above ground and stuff. But I've only been comfortable enough for the past maybe 2.5 years to do it completely full-time. Yeah. I mean, I've been working as an art tutor for almost 4 years now, but yeah, some of the I've even still during those periods I have had part-time jobs. I've done like other gigs or stuff that's not really art, but just to keep my income at a certain level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, for 2 years it's been nothing, and I'm teaching less like academically and more like on a freelance type of thing. Like, do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that is all the questions for today.
No problem.
It's been great delving into like, you know.
Was that an hour? Was that a whole hour already?
No. 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
That was 15 minutes.
It was.
I I just talked for 50 minutes. Damn. I need to.
But it was a great conversation.
Okay.
Your pieces are amazing as well, like the colors, the meanings behind all of your pieces, and just to see how it translates to your life as well. Like it just makes so much sense, like everything being connected, and you can just really see how much of you is your art and how much of your art is you. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it as well, and there's so much more that I do. Again, I love collaborating with other creatives, so I've been doing bespoke jackets. I'm sure some of you have seen my archetype designs posts. I do some vintage pieces for some people that work in the vintage market in Brick Lane. Yeah, I make fabrics as well, so I do like inner linings, like just lots of different things. So make sure you check out my page as well. I'm also a poet. I go around London performing at open mics. I can give you guys, I can bless the mic one time if you guys want right now. So yeah, yeah, that sort of thing.
Awesome. It's been so great talking to you, so insightful as well, and it will be really interesting to see like what is next if we step out of this whole COVID quarantine situation, if your art changes more, or somebody wants a poem, they want a poem, the people want a poem.
They want a poem. Who wants the poem? Who though? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Why not? Should I perform? Say, okay, cool. I'll do a poem for you called Fruition, which is my favorite poem and probably one of my oldest ones too. So apologies if you've heard it before, but it encapsulates, I think, what we've spoken about in the conversation and why I'm an artist. So, yeah. Do you want to count me in? You want to give me a 3, 2, 1, and then yeah? All right, cool.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. So, what is a personality if there's no longer anything personal about it? If we're nothing more than the reflections of society that we need to be? I mean, we were all born free, so why do we have to enslave ourselves to these bills and fees in the quest for pay rises or maybe even uni degrees? We say we're chasing a better life, although that term will forever remain undefined. We all seem so eager to fall in line that our individuality becomes undermined. Now I ask you, what good is a first impression if all my self-expression has been reduced to this prosaic mosaic made from the broken pieces of freedom we flee from? We're striving ever so hard to conform and straying never too far from the norm, although this persistent resistance defies the very nature to which we were born. We're torn because our existence will always be based on a need to belong. So we let hate and fear occupy the Earth's atmosphere. Like the air we breathe, we respire with. It runs through our systems as we become victims of the day-to-day stress, as we dress to impress under discreet duress, and we work till we're depressed, ruined by the influence of affluence when truly we were all born blessed. You must try not to forget, in this life full of regrets, being true to yourself, that's the only true success. And if you don't already, follow Chidi3s.
Yes. Oh, yes. New line. That was really
good. New line added, yeah?
Please, can we send some hearts? Please, guys, if you like that poem, send hella hearts.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
and hit me up. It's all on my all the poems, paintings. They're all on my website. You can find that through my art account. So definitely, man.
Amazing. Well, it was great talking to you, and we look forward to seeing your future. And we wish you all the best. Maybe we'll have you back.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Sorry again about the train delays earlier. And yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you too. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed this.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye. And that, guys, is the end of our first episode. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you'll be back for our next episode. All right. Take care. Bye.